call because so much has happened over the week. I had something to say. The title was something I had to say, but we're not going to focus on that right now. Dang, there was something I saw. All right. So I reposted something. Oh, I remember now. Now I remember the other shit, but let's get into this really quick. Let's start here. Good afternoon, by the way. I just started talking. Hi. I still owe y'all a reading too, but let's do this really quick. I reposted from Cyrus the Alchemist. Okay, I'm about to read this. The people who are the least humble are usually the ones who try to humble those who are already genuinely humble. And this is done for nothing other than out of pure ego, for ego boost, and from resentment. It's almost like they resent your humbleness, so they want to humble you further, when really and truly they just want to make you feel less about yourself, either through humiliation or sabotage. This is what weak people have to do just to feel control over other people's lives. Their idea of humbling you is by messing with your life, sabotaging things for you, and creating enemies for you. Let their actions continue to speak volumes on who they all truly are at core. Disgusting people, disgusting behavior. All right, so I reposted that. If you would like to see it, I reposted it. But it's funny because it comes in along something that I saw, and it's just so funny when stuff rubs me the wrong way. It's like, why am I even following you? I don't think I intended to. I know why I followed you, but after yesterday, I don't think I'm going to follow you anymore. It falls in line with something that she said, but we'll get to her in a second because, of course, when I see certain things, I'm inspired, or some people would say get downloads, So here's the thing about these non-humble people, all right, the least humble people. They are actually projecting that the humility is an act. It's not that they see that you're humble and need to humble you more. And maybe for some people it is, but here's what I see, okay? They project that the humility is an act, and because they themselves are not humble and they fake humility, they intuitively know that to fake humility has to have audacity and ego. They project the need on you to be humbled, okay? When it's really them that needs to be humbled, it's really them that need to sit down. What was that song, right? So they aren't, in their minds, in their twisted, sick, disgusting minds, they don't actually think that they're humbling you even more. That's not even an option for them. It is, you disgusting person, you are faking humility. You need to see what real humbleness is. Let's humble you. Because they really genuinely do not think that you are humble. Your actions, and they don't even interpret some of your actions as humility, right? Like, they don't know what humility is. They don't know. They don't know that coming and asking for help is humbleness. They think that's weakness, They don't think that telling, being vulnerable is humble. No, that's weakness. How dare you even ask for help? How dare you do any of that? You don't have the right to do that. So let's make sure that you do everything by yourself. Let's make sure we ruin all your opportunities so you can see that you really don't need help. You just need to do this on your own. It's a weird paradox here. They don't think that what they're doing is overkill. They don't think that they're overdoing it. They think that they're genuinely, you're not humble because you're faking humble. You're faking that. You think it's not even faking it. They don't have the right perception about humility in the first place to recognize humility. They think they know what humility is. Humble beginnings. They think they know what that is, so they're trying to make you experience it so that you can have growth. But this is just a display. So then it led me to start thinking about some people I've heard recently. People who are definitely not humble and do not fall in the lines of confident either. Because the minute you have to boast about what you are now or what you've always been in comparison to what someone is now or has always been, that's not confidence. That's cockiness. And perhaps you will learn that you're actually truly blessed, you know. Somebody, I was scrolling on Instagram and somebody was talking about how they need to turn, people need to turn to God and not other people. And, they signed it off as someone who was once a fool, meaning that what choices you make to connect to God are the wrong way and you're foolish. And I used to be foolish just like you, but I'm not now. What? Nope. No, ma'am. All right, but let's finish what I was saying here. Okay. So me and you and I, whoever, okay, because I don't think any of this stuff that was directed to me. You know what I'm saying? I just it pause. We're two different type of trees, two different type of humans. But as you know, I like to use trees as a metaphor because trees were literally like the first thing on this earth. You know, so I like to use them as a metaphor because we are essentially like, they'll show you things where we look like this looks like a leaf print, right? Our ancestors are trees, literally. So using that metaphor isn't so far off. Excuse me. Um, a few months ago, I had spoke on a concept that a woman had said that our growth is a spiral, not linear. So when a tree gets a injury, it takes several rings for that injury to grow out. Okay. So it's the same with trauma. We experience a trauma and we may come back to that same point over and over until we finally grow out of it. Okay. So that is how I have seen my own path. But let's talk about the differences in people are much like trees. Okay. Um, you would like to poke fun at the lack of growth in some people. And it appears that some of us are slow or experiencing something repeatedly because we are dumb or not worthy or hard headed, some of us, right? And the thing is, some of us have different trauma points, okay? So that looks like in a tree trunk, one of those areas that goes really far out, right? It wasn't it what you got like a little bump like this wide or it comes out a little long. You got like a little bump this long. So you grow around it really fast. Whereas somebody's got one that's really long and deep and it takes them longer to get over the same trauma that you had. And not necessarily the same trauma sometimes, but you know, your trauma points have nothing to do with mine. So where you excel and you don't have much to overcome in that department, okay? My growth and perhaps the growth of others that are experiencing what you do not currently, okay, are often slow to grow because we're different types of trees, possibly. The difference in the size of trauma, possibly. But let's take this example. A fig, a citrus, and a mulberry tree are mature and produce fruit within 3 years. Okay. Some grow really fast, like willows, okay, which grow something like 5 to 8 inches a year, right? And produce quickly. Okay. So they also add a large diameter per year in their trunk. Okay. So not only do they grow up fast, they grow wide fast. And some of them, they don't grow wide fast. They stay kind of thin, you know what I'm saying? So there's no requirement for years and years of growth, okay? As such, there are some people who do not need a lot of growth or time to mature, and even then, that would be determinant on the spectrum of trauma, upbringing, and personality, just as you wouldn't plant a fig tree in high alkaline soil, okay? People who have the potential to grow quickly can still be stunted and might just not grow right without the correct foundation for growth. Then there's the slowest growing trees like a white cedar or a gold thread cypress, okay, whose diameter can take up to 150 years to mature. 150 years, and I like that. Okay, when I looked that up for this, I was like, dang, there's definitely a tree on this earth that was here to see my last few lifetimes and still isn't mature. And because we're doing this on span of lifetimes, it would mean the same for me. you know? Um, avocado trees take 5 years to produce. Olive trees can take up to 10. Okay. What happens if you sow those in the wrong soil? All these trees could produce even faster if you splice them with an already producing tree. All of them. Okay. So, like networking, how humans network, trees can do the same. I can produce faster if I have a support system versus if I don't. Right. But what happens if you isolate the tree? What happens if you isolate a person? What effects would that have on growth? Okay. What you cannot do is make me feel ashamed of my growth because it's lifetimes of work. Okay. I've been getting played for a few lifetimes, but that's because it's my work to do so. The initial research, okay, I've said this before, Sigmund Freud, he had the child half, he had the Oedipus, right? He had that in the 1930s, I believe. Okay. So the other half of that is the parent initiating Oedipus, actually. Covert emotional incest is the cause of that. But nobody discovered that until 1980. So I've had to live a few lifetimes, and not really that many, where this type of behavior has been happening for me. And the reason is because covert emotional incest, and unfortunately I gave my books away because this is something that I actually wanted to talk about a long time ago. But covert emotional incest is a spectrum, right? The responses are different. There's some people that are really closed off and they learn really quickly because they're not going to be embarrassed and humiliated like the person before them or the people that they watch. And then there's the other people that are hard-headed, make soft ass, and they have to experience certain things like love addiction, emotional rape. They have to experience those things. And my reasoning was so that I could literally find this shit and bring it to all of you. Like I said, there were videos about, I've come across videos where they were talking about emotional incest like 7-8 years ago, right? But I now hear that phrase, emotional incest, covert emotional incest. I now hear that phrase like an everyday thing now. Like when I first discovered the links and stuff like that, I was emailing and sending out stuff to other content creators that are actually certified and have like, degrees and stuff. And, they talk about it now. I'm not saying it's because of me, but they talk about it now, like regularly. Okay. This was what I was here to do. And it required me getting my ass played, getting humiliated. That wasn't your path. So I'm questioning, like, how can you prop yourself to being above anyone with differences and slow growth? Call them fools. I once was a fool too. And just because you're calling yourself a fool too, now you can call everybody else a fool because they're not doing it the way you're doing it, healing as fast as you, or changing the way that they decide to do whatever it is that they do. I'm not speaking specifically to you because you're not the only one I heard speak this way recently. I'm not speaking to you specifically at all, really. I just happened to notice something. And a jar of olives and a jar of figs value about the same. So no one's speediness to growth determines their worth. And everything I have to say is just as important as what you have to say, regardless of how I decide to talk to God, how I decide to come to healing, no matter what it is. It don't put you above me. It don't put you above anybody. Doesn't matter if they're financially struggling, doesn't matter if you're secure and they're not. We all have different paths. So just because you got to your path and you're secure now, doesn't mean that the person that isn't is beneath you and that their words mean you can't tell me nothing. Oh yeah, because that too. You can't tell me nothing. You ain't never been in a relationship. You can't tell me nothing. Yeah, because I haven't done certain things, I got a different perspective. It's still important. Like, I don't really understand where we're getting this. If you aren't in the position I'm in, I don't have nothing to hear from you. To some extent, yes, but you got to be very discerning about that, right? Because, like, I couldn't, I don't know anything about APR, interest, any of that shit, right? So I'd never be the one to be like, hey, don't buy that house, man. You wouldn't want to listen to me about that, right? You wouldn't want to listen to me about that, but you do have a responsibility to filter, to research. If somebody tells you something just because they ain't been in a relationship before, you're not going to listen. No, go look it up. Oh, just because they're a scientist, you're just a hobbyist. Oh, God. I'll never forget that, sir. You were in my book. You're just a hobbyist. What I got to listen to you for? You're just a hobbyist. You can look it up yourself and be a hobbyist and find out I'm telling you the truth. Yeah. That's all I have to say for now, because I forget what the main topic of this I'm gonna change the name of this video. It just happened to already be in my queue, so I was like, I'll use that. But y'all have a good day and feel better, Brittany.